I think of all the ridiculous figures that have come to prominence as a consequence of Brexit essentially breaking the political traditions of this country completely, which I appreciate some people celebrate. But the sort of things that kept us on a relatively even keel or on a relative straight and narrow being completely tossed out of the window. That's being demonstrated every day by Boris Johnson. The old rules no longer apply. The rules regarding honesty or decency, integrity or competence. The idea, for example, that Nadine Dorries could be Secretary of State for Culture is simultaneously hilarious and heartbreaking. But I think of all of them, possibly the most ridiculous figure is not actually Ms. Dorries. Or even Dominic Raab, or I could go on. Gavin Williamson comes close, but he's no longer in the cabinet, so he gets a. Well, actually, nor's the bloke I'm going to mention, but he walked away rather than being lobbed out the back door like Williamson. Who do you think it is? Actually, build a bit of tension. Out of all of them, all of the prominent politicians. So you're not allowed to have Dominic Cummings. Has to be a politician, somebody who has served in the cabinet or is currently serving in the cabinet. Should we just text us quickly before I tell you who we're going to be talking about and why this hour and just see what happens? Who is the most ridiculous? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the daftest of them all? 84850 is the text. Or you can tweet at Mr. James that this isn't going to work, is it? I'm doing it too much on the sixpence. But we'll see. I might just sit back now. Should we put some records on? Should we play a little bit of Monteverdi? I'll tell you something interesting while you text me. Who is the most ridiculous out of all of the people promoted by Boris Johnson? Who do you think is the single most egregious example of just how low the bar is now for occupying high office? I like that phrase. How low is the bar for occupying high office? Which one would you go for? No one's got it right yet. It's not the haunted pencil, as Julie suggests. It's not Truss. Have you got the answer to that question yet? Who wrote that thing about how civil servants must always travel economy, or government members, politicians must always travel economy rather than business? Was it A, Liz Truss, B, the Foreign Secretary, or C, the British politician who just spent £500,000 on a private jet flying to Australia? But no, everyone's going for Truss or Rees-Mogg. This isn't going according to plan at all. We've got a couple of Dorries. Has anyone got it right? No, it's not. So everyone's going, you can't go for the ones I've just mentioned and said it was. Why won't you play my game the way that I want you to play it? It's not Dorries, it's not Rees-Mogg, and it's not Truss. It's not there. You don't... I'm getting loads of Rees-Moggs now. That's not fair on anyone. Failing Grayling was not Boris Johnson's, actually, Mark. I can see why you've done it. Raab, no. It's a genius there. Keir Starmer, mate, is not in Boris Johnson's cabinet, but, you know, you keep cracking those gags. No one's got it right. No, not Matt Hancock, not Therese Coffey. Good Lord, this is appalling, isn't it? No, it's not Michael Gove. He was already a prominent. I'm talking about the ones who have been particularly promoted by Boris Johnson, the ones that would never have got into a cabinet under any previous Prime Minister. It's not Grant Shapps. No, he was already there. Dominic Raab was already there as well. Theresa May had him in the cabinet, didn't she? Didn't she make him Brexit Secretary? Then he found out about Dover to Calais. Robert Jenrick, very strong, actually. This is an excellent point. You only have an hour of the show left, James. There's nowhere near enough time to get. One person now has got it. One person. We're going to be here all day. Jenrick, Patel. There you go, another one. Well done. Well done, Finian. Finian's got it. Boris himself, I suppose you can have that, but that is obviously not the answer. George Eustace, oh my days, this is just the most depressing. This is even worse than Wednesday's show when we asked what's the worst thing Boris Johnson's ever done, and then just sat here goggling at the sheer quantity of suggestions as answers to that question. Priti Patel, George Eustace. Whoa, Nick in Box Hill's just got it as well. Here it comes. Yeah, there we go. Now Roy Mottram has got it right as well. Well done, Roy. Mark Francois. Even Mark Francois couldn't get into this cabinet, mate, which, actually, be careful what you say out loud, James. It'll only come back to haunt you. And then another one. Finally, you're beginning to get it. But my goodness me, how heartbreaking and dispiriting is it to think that I can sit here on national radio and say, whose presence in the cabinet is the best indicator yet of just how low the bar has gone for high office in this country, and people with a straight face are going to suggest pretty much everybody who's in the cabinet. And the exceptions were really only put there by Theresa May. who was operating on a desperate administration anyway. No, it's not Kwasi Kwarteng. He seems all right, actually. So does Nadeem Zahawi. Don't quote me on this or haunt me with it. It could all come back. David Davis isn't in the cabinet, but he was under previous prime ministers. I think the tension has now seeped out of the studio. Do you? I think I'll just tell you who it is. It's got to be Lord Frost, right? Lord Frost, the most ridiculous figure for two reasons. One, because of what's actually happened out loud. You know, the fact that he was high-fiving himself all around Downing Street in Christmas of 2020 for pulling off this amazing deal. And before he'd even sat down, or before the party poppers had stopped popping, he's trying to disown it and blaming it all on the other people that signed it. I mean, an incredible act. And accepting, of course, a peerage straight into the House of Lords, seat around a cabinet table, for negotiating something that he has now dedicated pretty much all subsequent time to denigrating and criticising. You have to stop occasionally and pinch yourself in order to believe that what is happening in front of your very eyes is actually happening in front of your very eyes. And David Frost, Lord Frost as he is now, the former Brexit minister, is perhaps the finest example of just how low the bar is for high office. Plucked from relative obscurity. I think he was running the Scotch Whisky Association, where he did at least appear to have a grasp of why leaving the single market would be an act of abject idiocy. Plucked from running the Scotch Whisky Association and put in charge of the single most important negotiation this country will ever undertake during peacetime, and muffing up almost all of it. I think we can probably all agree on that, right? Even if you want to pretend that Brexit was still a good idea, you can agree that the deal he signed. Look at that poor woman in Lowestoft talking about the fishermen being betrayed. Oh, hello, there's a surprise. Farmers, everyone. I mean, absolutely astonishing. Could he have negotiated anything better? I don't know, probably not. But did he negotiate anything even half good? No. But he's built his whole career on it. So what's he done now, old Lord Frost? Have you heard of Suella Braverman? Asks yourself. Yeah, all right. It wasn't my best game ever. All right. There's a lot of competition for the crown of who best demonstrates how low the bar now is for high office in Boris Johnson's government. But I'm going with David Frost because otherwise the next hour of the programme simply won't work. David Frost now is sort of casting himself as a bit of an expert. He is the political equivalent of the bloke in the pub that knows absolutely nothing, but has somehow managed to get to the age of 60, convinced that he's a genius, an undiscovered genius. I'll tell you what Lewis Hamilton did wrong in that race. I'll tell you what Liz Truss should tell those Aussies. I'll tell you what I mean, you know the type, right? He has turned that into a career. It's astonishing. Normally it's unpaid. Occasionally someone might buy you a pint, but normally being the pub bore is an unpaid position, and you do it chiefly because you've got nowhere else to go. And your own family can't wait for you to get, if they're still around, your own family can't wait to get you out of the house at 6 o'clock every evening so you can go and bore the pants off everybody else in the pub. And because alcohol has been taken, people can be a little bit tolerant, a little bit warm perhaps towards the pub bore. But he's now turned being a pub bore into a career. And what he's got, as some pub bores achieve, the most successful pub bores achieve, is a small little coterie of sycophants who are even more tragic than the actual pub bore. Lord Frost's little coterie of sycophants incredibly includes the Daily Express and one or two other media outlets, because he is somehow being fated as a successful politician, because he did get Brexit done. Admittedly, the Brexit he got done is the thing he hasn't stopped complaining about since he got it done, and mere moments before the next level of reality was about to be achieved. You can see it unfolding in Dover at the moment and elsewhere. Anybody importing or exporting to or from the European Union will tell you that their business has been rendered immeasurably worse, but he hit the road just before that was about to kick in, another thing he actually negotiated, and he ran away claiming that he was actually opposed to raising taxes and whatever. So he's not only achieved the impossible by turning being a pub bore into a career, he has assembled a small coterie of sycophants and cheerleaders who can't quite recognise the reality of the absurdity before them, and encouraged by outlets like the Daily Express and the Daily Telegraph. I think he may even have written for The Sun today, so they're all queuing up now. He is now casting himself as some sort of expert. So from the Scotch Whisky Association to a negotiation he's sought to disown to being the true genius at the heart of the Conservative movement who is somehow qualified to tell Boris Johnson exactly what he's getting wrong. Are you still with me at the back? Stop sending me names of politicians. I need my inbox. They're all rubbish. All right, you win. You win. They're all rubbish. None of them stand out. They're all as bad as each other. But Frost is the worst. 14 minutes after 12 is the time. So this is Lord Frost's contribution to public discourse. Boris Johnson must clear out the neo-socialists, green fanatics and pro-woke crowd in Downing Street to save his premiership. I don't know whether he wrote this in crayon, but it wouldn't make much sense if he did. Boris Johnson must clear out the neo-socialists, green fanatics and pro-woke crowd in Downing Street. Now, I have picked up on one element of that. Well, two, I suppose. One is pro-woke and the other is Downing Street. So this is the same Downing Street that has sort of quietly endorsed the notion of football fans booing players taking the knee in protest against racism, quietly endorsed the notion of leaving up statues of slavers because to take them down would change history or something. This is I don't know what woke means, but whatever it means, Downing Street is not it. They invented the culture wars. That Munira Mirza on the payroll in Downing Street, her husband, whose name I can't remember, but he used to organise orgies for rich people. These are the people who are trying to keep Boris Johnson's whole project afloat, or were, by inventing controversies. You're supposed to get cross about things that aren't happening. Woke is the new political correctness, and David Frost's idea to sort out Boris Johnson's embattled premiership is to get rid of all the woke people in Downing Street. Good God, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I think. Because, of course, it all depends upon one simple question. Bobby Norfolk says, Gavin Williamson has just demanded a steward's inquiry. Stop it now. Give me my inbox back. Maybe he wrote it with a crayon up his nose. Maybe he wrote it with a crayon up his nose, whoever sent that. 16 minutes after 12 is the time. This is the bit, right? I don't know what it means. I don't know what woke means. I have never done this phoning. I heard Eddie Mair doing it, and he got some amazing answers, and I'm just nicking the idea off him wholesale. What does it mean? What does it mean? So there are two ways into this. What is the pro-woke crowd in Downing Street? 03456060973. We have an administration in place that has flirted with some of the nastiest tropes of societal division than any in living memory. Up to, well, I suppose going back to Thatcher and Nelson Mandela, you'd struggle to stoop that low. But what is the pro-woke crowd in Downing Street? And crucially, 17 minutes after 12, and come at this from whatever angle you want, okay? And because it's a word that has been used, so some people have sort of built entire careers on this word. I don't know what it means, and I do this for a living. So it's only 4 letters. Wouldn't even get onto Wordle. It's only 4 letters, and it must be one of the most overused words in the British media over the last 12 months. It's tailed off a little bit lately, but here is Lord Frost smacking it back into the middle of the park. Woke. What? And remember, this is our final hour of the week together, so we can have a little bit of fun. Seriously, what does it mean? I want you to tell me what you personally think it means, especially if you use it as a pejorative, especially if you've got it in your Twitter profile. Anti-woke. Woo. Tough guy. What are you anti if you're anti-woke? And what are you pro if, to coin Frost's phrase, you are pro-woke? Hit the numbers now, you will get through. That introduction has taken... Well, how did it take that long? I haven't said anything. It's already 18 minutes after 12. That's ridiculous. Oh, it's all your messing around on the text, wasn't it? Yeah, I told you to stop that ages ago.